It's time for the Ella Johnson Show. Thanks for tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show, where there are two sides to every story. Enjoy the broadcast. Stay tuned. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the Ella Johnson Show. It is Sunday, and it's time for another broadcast about T. Tunstall. That's right. The conversation about T. Tunstall continues, and it will continue until we get to the answers that we're looking for. Well, I want to welcome you. If you are watching for the very first time, I want to thank you. I don't know where you may have gotten the link, but I am so glad that you are here watching and sharing in this with us. So if you're watching from YouTube, thank you. And please subscribe to my channel since you're already there. If you're watching from Facebook, do me a favor and just simply share the broadcast right now. We need every single person that is alive, that is awake today, to know about T. Tunstall, to know about what's going on in Monroeville, Alabama, to know what's not going on in Monroeville, and to know what happened to T, and to continue to say his name so that we can get justice for him. Welcome, Stephanie. Thank you for sitting in with me again on this Sunday. You are a regular here. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Yes, this is, obviously something that is very passionate to us both. And I am here. Like I promised his mom, I am here to fight with you, fight with her, and see this through.
All right. I love it. I love it. Well, we got a lot to cover tonight because we got some questions to answer. We got some educational stuff we want to give you guys. We just got a great conversation because, as you know, right now, where we are with this case is that this happened to T on March 30th. The video went viral on the 31st. Everyone, a lot of people all across the country and other countries saw the video of how he was dragged by the Monroeville Police Department with no care in the world, and he died literally moments later. And now they are saying that he was alive when he got in the car, that he was arrested without incident. Well, you saw the video, okay? And so we're here to discuss that tonight. Stephanie, what did you think about the fact that we still haven't seen anything in the Monroe Journal or anywhere in Monroeville? Like they're not talking about this at all. What do you think about that?
I found that to be very disheartening, Ella, especially in comparison, with other cases that's going on right now. I'm going to mention the Nolan Wells case very quickly here, because that case has really went nationally viral and really internationally to a certain extent. And we've seen that everywhere. And that tragic incident happened after T's case. And as you can see, not only have we had that extensively reported on, the initial autopsy findings has come back, as well as the second autopsy has come and has been revealed. It has been discussed. And so for this to be, and I know Monroeville is a small town, but Monroeville matters. Monroeville is the town, let us not forget, where To Kill a Mockingbird was written. And I always reference that when I'm talking about this to people, because that book is nationally and internationally known. It has been translated into multiple languages. And so, as well as the movie Just Mercy. And we discussed Walter McMillan a little while ago, in a few podcasts, but previously. But that lets you know the impact that Monroeville has. And so there are eyes on Monroeville, and Monroeville has a lot of things that comes out of it. So, Monroe Journal has been around, I know, for decades upon decades. So I would expect for them to respect their citizens, and realize that we need this information to be out there. We need this information to be public so that, the hearts and the minds of the family and community can be at rest.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because we're going to talk about that tonight. Because you and I were talking earlier today about the Monroe Journal getting involved and why haven't they posted this, talking about this. So I sent an email. I didn't know that Mike Quails would respond today, but he did. But before we do that, I want us to pray. I believe that the power of prayer is so important in situations like this, because there is no way we're going to get what we need without him. And whether you are a believer or not, whether you believe in the higher power, wherever you are in your walk with God, my walk with him is that I trust him and depend on him. And I know that what we normally believe that we need to make this happen, God may have a whole different plan. And so we got to tap into that and let him lead and guide even this broadcast, what we should be talking about, what we shouldn't talk about, who we should reach out to. We are guided by him. So I want to take a moment briefly just to pray, acknowledge that, and to ask for his help. If you guys will. Lord, thank you for this day. We thank you for waking us up. Thank you for allowing us to be in our right minds with the ability to seek justice. Lord, we pray that you will continue to give us the wisdom that we need to seek justice for T. We ask that you continue to watch over his family, his mother, his grandmother, his siblings, his children, the parents of the children. Lord, we ask that you watch over this family. You know what they need. You know what they cry about and talk to you about. And Lord, we ask that you meet those needs. There is nothing that we can't have as long as we come to you and trust because of our relationship, because of our covenant. You have promised us some things. So Lord, we are calling on you and making a demand on the word. We pray that we don't get so involved in putting pressure on people, but that we put the pressure on the word of God, that it will do what it said it would do. And we ask that you watch over this broadcast, give us wisdom. We pray for every single person that's watching that will comment. We pray for whatever is going on in their lives. These and other blessings we ask in thy son Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right.
Yes,
okay,
Lord.
guys. So I'm sorry. What were you going to say, Stephanie?
Oh no, that was just a wonderful prayer. It's just
Renee says, "Amen." All right, amen. There it is.
Yes,
That's
Lord.
the church. We're not going to pass the collection plate today, though. But what we want to do, though, is, Stephanie, I think the first thing we ought to do is acknowledge that we need to make sure that you guys understand, because I talk about, and it is so true. You hear me talk about city council, and I've had somebody today said something like, why are we always talking about city council? I want to make sure that you understand why. I want to make sure you understand how your local government works and what is due to you. You guys go into these elections, you elect people, and you elect people. I'm sure a lot of people, they've been in the community, you think they care, and you just continue to do that same stuff over and over. But I want you to understand how it works and what you're supposed to get out of it. So what we did is we created this graphic here, because I want to make sure that y'all understand what your city council's for, why they're there, why you should care that they're not saying anything. All right. Because they should be responding to you. They should be involved. They should be doing for you. All right. So what responsibility do they have in the T. Tunstall case, and how can they help? Okay. I want y'all to take a look at this graphic. That's because that's one of the questions I hear most often. A lot of times people say the city council can't prosecute anyone. So why do you keep mentioning them? The answer is simple. They are the elected representatives of the people. Okay. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about how city government works. The mayor is the chief executive of the city. The police department falls under the city's executive branch and operates according to city ordinances, policies, budgets, and oversight established through municipal government. Okay. Now, the city council serves as the legislative body. While council members do not supervise, let me say that again. I have to say it. While council members do not supervise criminal investigations or decide whether someone is charged with a crime, they play a critical role in governing the city. This is what their responsibilities include. Just in case they don't know what they are, they approve the city's budget, include funding for the police department. All right, y'all see that? Your city council approves the budget and the funding for the police department. So whatever is needed for the police department, your city council is the one who decides that. In fact, your city council is the one that decided that it was okay to pay these officers that were involved in T's death. Let me say that correctly. The officers, the last people to see him alive. I'll put it like that. Passing ordinances and establishing city policies, that's what they do. Now, asking questions on behalf of the citizens they represent. Y'all hear that? They are supposed to go to these departments. If you got an issue with the police department, guess who's supposed to go to them? Not the Ella Johnson show, your city council. That's why you elected them. They are to go to the DA. They're supposed to go to the city, to the mayor. They're supposed to go to the police on your behalf because they represent you. Holding public meetings where community concerns can be addressed. If you have concerns in your community and and you've made that known to your city council and they're not calling meetings, that's on them. They should be. That's what they get paid to do. They are supposed to address your concerns. It doesn't matter whether they want to hear it, whether they like it, whether they agree with you. That's not what you're there for. You are there to address the community concerns. Okay? Are y'all with me so far? They're also supposed to review whether city policies need to be changed to improve accountability and public trust. I want y'all to hear that. If there's something wrong with how the police are handling you or how things are going in the jail or whatever's going on in Monroe, you guys you don't like, your city council is where you go. They are there to make sure that your trust has not been eroded because of something they're doing at the police department. And I hear a lot of you talking about how the police pull you over and they punch you up and beat you up, even though you're handcuffed or even though you're complying. That is incorrect. That's not how it's supposed to be. So if you're having a problem with that, you go to your city council person and you tell them, look, I got this issue and I want it brought up in the next meeting. Okay? Then if they don't do that, then we can make some noise because that's what they're there for. If you're not doing that, if you guys aren't getting any of that, you are paying them for nothing. Okay? So why does that matter in the T. Tunstall case? That's what you want to know, right? Because this case isn't about just one incident. It's also about whether the city's policies, training, oversight, and accountability measures are serving the people. The city council cannot tell the DA whether to file charges. We know that. We don't say that. We understand that that's not what they can do. And we've never said that. The city council can't interfere with the SBI investigation. We know that too. They cannot do that. But just because they can't do that doesn't mean they can't do anything. All right. And that's what they want to try to tell you. There's an investigation. We can't do anything. They are lying if they tell you that. Okay. But they absolutely can ask the difficult questions about city operations and whether changes are needed to help prevent similar incidents in the future. That they can do. All right. Now, as elected officials, they can also be a voice for their constituents by listening to community concerns, encouraging transparency from city leadership. They should be the ones on the mic. They should be the ones on Facebook asking, hey, look, what do we need? We need this. What's going on? We need that. Are we going to get down and talk about the policies in your manual? What happened? Why did this young man end up dead? Did you do something wrong? Are your policies written up the right way? Are you guys following? Have these officers been trained? No one's asking those questions. Not the ones you elected. And they're the ones that should be. Okay? So what many citizens are looking for is leadership. Leadership, guys. People want to know, what lessons has the city learned from this tragedy? Has Monroeville learned anything from this? Your city council, mayor, any of them? Are current policies adequate? You don't even know what the policies are because you can't even get the manual because they hold you back on that too, right? So if you can't get the policy manual, then you need to call your representative and ask what they are. And if they don't know, they should ask the police department. Does the city council believe any policies should be reviewed? You darn skippy, they need to be reviewed if somebody's dead. That's a no-brainer. How is the city working to restore public confidence? No one is asking the city council to determine guilt or innocence. That's not their role. That's not what we're asking them for. What we're asking is for them to fulfill the responsibility that the voters elected them to perform, to represent the people, ask questions, ensure accountability in city government, work toward building public trust. Government works best when every elected official fulfills the responsibilities of their office. Okay? The district attorney has a role. The sheriff has a role. They all have a role. The mayor has a role. And the city council has one too. Each office is different, but every one of them exists to serve the people. Okay? Now, what do you think about all of that, Stephanie?
I think that is important information that everybody in the city of Monroeville needs to realize. Information that needs to take to heart. Realize that with all this information, the main thing that even even an 18-year-old needs to realize is that you need to register to vote so that you know who is after your concerns, so that you can understand what these politicians are here for. You elect these people, your tax money goes to fund these people. And if you're going to pay for something, because you are paying them, whether you really realize it or not, you are paying them. And anytime I pay someone, I want to make sure that I'm getting what I pay for. And if I'm not getting what I pay for, then I have questions. You know,
I think that's a good way you put it, because a lot of people don't realize they're paying for it, right? Yeah.
And you're paying for it, you know, with your money, and you're paying for it with your voice. And what you don't realize is that if you don't say anything, they're actually taking your money because of your silence.
They're hoping that you guys won't believe what I'm saying. But everything I'm saying, all you got to do is Google it. If you guys are not familiar, really, I mean, because there's nothing to be ashamed of. If you're not familiar with what your government owes you in Monroeville, your city officials, the ones you elected, then this is why we're here. It's to educate, all right? Not just to complain, but to educate you as well. So I hope there won't be any questions about that. I hope you guys understand the reason we talk about city council on this broadcast is because of all those reasons I just gave you. Okay? That's real. So I want to move on to this one because I think this is also important, because in the middle of all of this, you guys need to understand the judicial process for Monroeville and what has happened. Okay? What has happened? How are we supposed to respond? All this waiting, what's the order of things? Well, I'm glad you asked that question, because that's exactly what this graphic here is. It lets you see that the incident happened, the investigation begins, and so much of this you guys follow already, because you saw that the investigation was handed over to Aaliyah. Then SBI got it. SBI is the arm of Aaliyah that investigates criminal cases. So SBI got it. They completed the investigation. That's where we are. They have completed it. Now, you may not have seen it in the paper, but y'all saw the letter that I presented to you where I tried to get information, and they said, we got to go to the DA. Now, why in the world are they talking to the DA if they hadn't turned it over? All right? I hope y'all get that. Whether you've seen it in the paper or not, it has been turned over. So right there, number 4 is what happens next. The district attorney is reviewing the case. Once he's done with that, he is going to make a decision. Okay.
I'm sorry, Ella. I don't mean to cut you off there. I know we were talking about the Monroe Journal earlier. I just want to inquire, because you just made a very good point. When I know that you reported on it, when the findings came back, was that posted in the Monroe Journal? Did the Monroe Journal say anything about the findings were back?
No, they didn't. You guys found out about that because
I know we discussed, but you know, a lot of times, like Thursday, I know Thursday went a little long, but a lot of times those questions kind of come up, and I've done so much research on this, but still questions come up. But okay, I'm sorry. Continue on. You were on.
No, that's okay. That's okay. No, that's important because I want to tell you guys what happened when I did go out to Mike Quells at the Monroe Journal and say, "Hey, look, what's up? Why aren't you talking about this? They have a right to know." I asked them about that. So I'm going to show you guys that in a second. But yeah, so right here, the decision has to be made by the DA. Then if he chooses to, he will file charges. Charges will be filed against the person or persons responsible for T's death. Okay. Then that's where your court process begins. There's a trial, verdict, and sentencing. Okay. So where we are right now is at number 4. We're at number 4 in the process. So I want you guys to know there is a process. There is a waiting time on that process. But we see, like with Nolan Wells, like you mentioned, Stephanie, they're talking about it. We've seen so much information about this, but nothing in T. Why? Come on, guys. Monroe's not isolated. You're not like some big area where you just can't, you don't have time to get to it. You're small. It should be easy. So why aren't they? Think about that. All right. So I just wanted to bring that graphic up to you guys too, because it is important for you to understand the process. So
I don't think you finished though, Ella. We might need to go right back to it really quickly because I know you start from 4.
Let's go back.
Yeah, let's so they understand that process. You were on 4. I did cut you off between 4 and 5, but I think we need to still kind of finish that graphic there because it's a great graphic that people need to know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what else can we say about this here is that the fact that you guys don't know that it was handed over to DA, that is disturbing. And it's also disturbing because the SBI also didn't report it. Because to be fair, it's one of those situations where, okay, they didn't report it, but how did I find out it was turned over? Because I went looking for it. And that's all the Monroe Journal has to do is go looking for it. If you really want people to know, because here's what the issue is, Monroeville, is that if you allow someone and these officers, let's just say, because we are pretending, right, that it's homicide. Let's just say it is a homicide verdict on the autopsy. That SBI looked at the autopsy, they looked at T's body, they examined him, and they determined that his cause of death was at the hands of these officers, that they did something that killed this young man. Guess what, Monroeville? Guess what, Monroe Journal? You are now all complicit in allowing someone to still be on the force who is guilty, allegedly, until proven innocent until proven guilty of murder. I mean, I can't say it any plainer than that. And this is why it's so important to follow these steps, follow everything the way we should, because there is no reason you haven't heard anything, nothing in the paper about T. Tunstall. Did they even put in there when he died? Was it in there other than Mandy's statement? Did they have an article about his death other than her statement? I don't think so.
No, I mean, not that I saw. And even though I'm not in the Monroe Journal, we do follow them online. And many times, actually, we have our family members literally mail us copies of Monroe Journal. Previous to this incident, it's just something like my mom, who is from Monroe as well, like we just like to look at the Monroe Journal. And so I haven't seen anything in regards to it.
All right. So this is what one of the questions we also continue here is, what is the sheriff's responsibility? Okay. Oh boy. This is one of those, Stephanie, this conversation is one of those where it's like, well, Ella, you're going to have to also deal with how people feel about the sheriff, because they like him. A lot of people support him. They have agreed to support him in the election. I think that's great if that's what you guys want to do. I don't have a dog in that fight. I have nothing to do with who you elect for your sheriff. My job here as a host is to give you information. With that information, you do with it what is best for you. What I want to do is let you understand that, yes, the sheriff has a responsibility in this as well to you. Is he an elected official? Yeah, then I'm talking about him too. All right. So I want to start out by sharing this. Let's talk about this, Stephanie, because you mentioned this in the last broadcast. So I thought I wanted to make sure to bring this up this time. When you read this, what did you get from this?
So when I read this, it did seem that the Monroe County Sheriff's Office wanted to make a statement about it,
Right.
but this statement, definitely seemed like they wanted to let the community know we really didn't have anything to do with this. They're basically expressing to the community, this is the extent of our involvement in this case. And so what I felt like this was missing was some key factors, because we know that the police officers made it to the detention center. What I would like to know from the sheriff's office is if they actually tried to admit T into the detention center. I would like to know from the sheriff's office if they actually turned over any camera footage to Aaliyah that showed when the officers pulled up and what were their actions once they pulled up. Did they try to remove T from their police car and actually bring him inside of the facility? Did any of his staff actually see this happen? Did they actually say, no, we're not going to actually admit him into our facility? Did they actually see that he was having medical distress? And if they did they actually have any staff that could assist prior to EMS being called? Because that is what he states here, that EMS was called. And EMS did actually attend to him outside of their facility. But did you have any staff who had that medical knowledge or that know-how to actually go and assist him? Did they assist him? And what happened? I would love to see that transparency in those statements from the sheriff's office.
And not only that, Stephanie, but that is important, but the stuff afterwards, like the stuff now. Like, where are you now with this? Are we just sitting back waiting for it to happen? Is everybody just being comfortable? So let me just share with you guys why I talk about the sheriff in this situation. What is his role in the T. Tunstall case? Now, first, let's be clear. The district attorney is the official who decides whether criminal charges should be filed. We already know that. That's not the sheriff. That responsibility belongs to the DA, but the sheriff is the chief law enforcement officer of Monroe County. Even if he is not the agency making the charging the decision, the sheriff still has an important leadership role. The people don't just look to the sheriff to enforce the law. They look to him for leadership, transparency, and reassurance that justice is being pursued fairly. He's not saying anything about this. When the sheriff publicly indicated that the matter was essentially out of his hands because it was with another agency, many citizens felt that response was incomplete, just like what Stephanie just said. While he may not have the authority to determine charges, people were looking for more than a statement about jurisdiction. They were looking for leadership. The community wants to know this. Okay. These are the questions that the community wants to know for those of you that are listening. If you're listening and you're an elected official, this is what the people want. This is what they need. This is what they're saying. What is being done to ensure accountability? What's being done? Who is doing anything to this? Doesn't just rest on the criminal side of it. There's a lot of pieces going on here. There's a lot of moving parts. Who's going to ensure that? What support is being offered to the Tunstall family? Is anybody checking on them? Is anybody making them feel safe? Is anyone making them feel like they care? I know the sheriff went to visit her with Pastor Buford on the day when this thing first happened. But has he called her? Has he reached out to her since? Anything? Or is it that when she tried to call the sheriff's office, she was told that, he'll call you, and she never got that phone call? Like, to say that you can't reach out to her because you're not investigating this case, no. People didn't hire you just for you to deal with what was comfortable. Okay. You're going to have some uncomfortable situations going on in Monroeville, and you got to be able to deal with all of them. You're the sheriff. Okay. How is the sheriff's office working with other agencies to help bring this matter to a conclusion? What else? What's happening? What is the sheriff doing to help maintain public confidence in the justice system? Like, you're there as the top. You still have to get involved with the people's concerns. It doesn't matter that you're not investigating this case. You still owe the people who elected you. They need to know, are my children safe? Are you working with the Monroeville Police Department? Are you? But y'all beefing, so no, you can't really get anything allegedly. You guys are allegedly beefing. But what I'm saying is, you got to be able to work with all the agencies to get a result for the residents. Okay? So we need confidence in the justice system, and the sheriff can help with that. No one is asking the sheriff to make the DA's decision. We know that. He can't go to the DA and tell him you need to charge them. That's not what I'm saying. I have to be very clear in my explanation so that it's not misconstrued. That's not his role. We know that. What we are asking is for the sheriff to use the leadership that comes with his office. All right. You got your own office. You got your own duties and responsibilities to the people. Communicate openly with the public whenever appropriate. Okay. Just like you were able to send this statement that we're looking at, posted it on Facebook. You can post something else about T. Tunstall. Okay. That's what I'm saying. Support a thorough and transparent process. Be the one that's out there speaking the same things we're speaking about what we expect. The people want to hear from somebody. Encourage accountability wherever the evidence leads. Stand with the community in seeking answers rather than simply saying the matter belongs to someone else. That's all we keep hearing. Help restore public trust. That's what you could do. Help restore public trust by demonstrating that every life matters, not just the ones you're investigating, and every investigation deserves to be taken seriously. The sheriff took an oath. Every last one of you did. And he took an oath to serve and protect the people of Monroe County. No matter where you live in Monroe County, this is not a jurisdictional thing, okay? This is about protecting the people. Leadership isn't only about what authority you have. It's about how you use your voice, sheriff, your influence, your office to promote confidence in the justice system. People are losing confidence because there are people that you're looking to vote for you think that the laws don't work for them. They think that the justice system has two sides, and that if you look like me, that it doesn't work for us, but yet you want them to vote for you. So you need to restore their confidence in the justice system, because that is your job. This is not about an election. That is your job, period, to do that. At the end of the day, this isn't about politics. That's why I hate when people tell me, Ella, this is an election season. I don't care. I know that T died. I'm sorry it was inconvenient for your election, but he needs answers now. Okay? That's where I'm coming from. It isn't about personalities. It's about a family that lost a loved one. Guys, I wish I could bring Sharon on here so you can see the woman that lost her son. I didn't lose my son. Some of you didn't lose yours, and some of you have lost yours. So I'm talking to you too. This woman deserves justice. She wants answers. The community wants answers. And citizens who expect every public official to do everything within the limits of their lawful authority to ensure justice is pursued. Okay? So that is why we talk about the sheriff on this broadcast. Why? Because he also has a responsibility to the people. Do you think that, is there anything else we can say on that, Stephanie?
You know what, Ella, you made all of the great, interesting points. There are a few more things I think that can be said once we actually know the findings. What I will say is it does seem like, which I think, we would kind of want, when it comes to law enforcement, we want that unity between the sheriff's office and their local, districts, whether it's, Monroeville or Frisco or Excel Police Department or, whatever have you. But at the same time, like you stated, like the sheriff's office, the county sheriff is responsible for holding these other districts accountable, not only just trying to ensure that he is not connected to an issue that he feels is probably sour or is has some negative connotations to it, so to speak. And so that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that leadership. And him putting a statement out and then being quiet since then is not sufficient.
And it's not sufficient, and it's not acceptable, and it shouldn't be acceptable. You guys shouldn't accept that. You should make demands on him, and he feels comfortable because nobody is calling him out. He wants to lead the information, because I mean, if we were going to do that, if we're just going to really talk about inconsistencies, we can continue talking about Jerry Nettles, because that did happen in his facility. Okay, so this is why it's important.
Excellent point.
This is why it's so important, sir, for you to make sure that you are dealing with everything that happens in Monroe County, not just when it's convenient. And I mean, you can't let your election be the guiding light for you on how you respond to issues in the community when the residents are calling on you for help. Okay. So, oh boy, now let's talk about Monroe Journal. All right, guys. So Stephanie made a good point. I saw it on a post. Someone was talking about Monroe Journal or something. And I said, you know what? Hey, she said, Ella, let's reach out to them and find out. I said, good point. So instead of waiting, I did it today. I was surprised that he responded to me right away. But here, this is my letter to Mike Quells. I basically was telling him here that it's come to my attention. There's been no reporting in the Monroe Journal regarding the findings of the SBI and T's case. I said that many residents have expressed their concern and have asked why there's been no coverage of this matter, despite its significant public interest. And I told him I'd spoken to him about the mayor as well, and how there's been nothing coming up about that he's not actively managing the day-to-day activities, because that's important. Like, who's running the city? So right away, he responded to me with this. And basically, he's saying that as per the Tunstall investigation, to our knowledge, the SBI is still investigating. Now, how is it that I know that they're not still investigating and he doesn't know? Okay. Well, to be fair to him, I went looking for it because I have an interest in what's going on in the city with the citizens of Monroe and this in custody death investigation. Okay. So he says that that's one of the reasons they haven't talked about it, because he still thinks SBI has it. All right. He also said that when it comes to the mayor, HIPAA laws have to be respected, and the mayor is being consulted in regards to city business. Now, here's my thing about that. And I responded to him this. Okay, is he being consulted about the issues, or is he managing the issues? Like, which one is it? It's one thing, Stephanie, if I'm acting as the mayor and I'm just telling you everything I'm doing, then you're not really acting as the mayor. You're just acting as the respondent, the one who's getting the information. So which is it? He's being consulted in regards to city business. Okay, that's like a play on words. He says announcements, press releases concerning any business is considered advertising. So you see how they always they don't want to report news. Listen, why should it be about advertising if we want you to report news about what's going on in your city? You don't ask anybody for advertising when you plaster across the screen the 3 ladies that you got for the voter harassing stuff that y'all, what is it called? The voter harvesting. The harvesting, voter harvesting. You didn't ask anyone to pay for that. You guys didn't have a problem putting that there. What's wrong with putting this? So they lead you to advertising. I already knew that. They're trying to get you to pay for something. Wish we had more information. I've checked, can't find where anyone has filed any form of civil suit in Tunstall case. Thanks for your concern and interest. So basically what he's saying here is I'm gonna keep it easy. I haven't seen anything. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know a thing about it. Didn't know it was happening. I said, okay, let me help you out. Let me help you out. So what I did is,
in all fairness, like he may not have. You know, he may not be following the case. It may not be on the forefront of his mind. It may not be on, you know, the Monroe Journal's register, unfortunately, since they've not really reported on any of this, you know, in the last 4 months. Like he I guess he wasn't searching for it. And since,
Yeah.
like you said, you had to go searching for it. It wasn't released by, you know, Aaliyah. It wasn't like, okay, a statement saying, and that's the issue. And that's why I am calling on any people who are watching, anyone who is concerned, who is in the Monroe area, who's outside the Monroe, anybody who sees that video and feels some type of
Share it.
emotion stirs in your heart and your mind when you see that T is literally being dragged. Like that should stir up emotions in anyone, regardless of what creed, color, race that you may be, to make you want to demand answers and seek exactly what happened in this case.
So I sent him this. I said, here, let me help you out, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
As you can see here, that SBI is not, they're talking to the DA. There's a reason they're talking to him. Okay. They need to know if there's an ongoing investigation, whether to release this information to me or not. So why would they reach out to the DA unless he has it? So I also, after that, I said, okay, well, what's up, Aaliyah? Why haven't you guys announced this? So then I sent an email to them as well. Like, what's up? This happened. It happened some time ago that you turn this over. Like, what's your policy? What's going on with that? Is that something that you don't normally do? Because you were able to say that it was in your hands. Now it's not. Why can't you say that either? Say that as well? Is that against your policy? Because I want to know.
No, let me say this here. In the research of this case, once I knew that this was going back, I realized that it had reached the DA's hand, and I was, like you said, I was questioning, okay, well, how long will it take for them to actually release it? Once Aaliyah gives it to the DA, if the DA in his investigation realizes that what's on the Aaliyah's investigation report differs from any of the police statements, whether it was a police officer, a police chief, whoever, if there's a conflict of information, he is supposed to kick it back to Aaliyah. And maybe that is what has happened at this point. Maybe that's why he says that it's still under investigation by Aaliyah, because that is what he's supposed to do. And if Attorney Todd Watson, if that's what you have done in that regard, I'm going to give you an applaud right now, because you are doing your job in that line of investigation.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know, if you kicked it back to them and say, hey, I see conflicts. And I will say, from what it seems and what I think we all know from watching the video, compared to the statement that the chief of police put out, there's conflicts.
Oh, definitely.
There are absolutely conflicts.
1000%.
That is what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's very possible that could be what's going on. But there's nothing wrong with saying that we have it. There's nothing wrong with saying
you are absolutely correct about that, because sometimes communication to the community is definitely warranted.
That's what I want.
You know, especially because you, Ella, has been so diligent week in and week out, ensuring that this stays at the forefront. Right. And at this point, it is still time to kick it into high gear. And that's why I'm petitioning anyone who has any type of—
You're doing an excellent job, Stephanie.
I can't stress that enough to share.
You're doing excellent, girl.
You've already been on a different Arbery case. Only came to it. The Ahmaud Arbery, if you guys remember that, it was a few months after the incident happened that it actually made national news. You know, and those people eventually did get arrested and convicted and are in jail right now. But just because it happened a few months ago doesn't mean that it's old news by any means.
By any means. I want to always make sure and acknowledge Sharon when she comes to the show.
Yes, indeed.
Sharon is saying that the DA knows the findings and don't want us to know, but they just as well, because I'm here to say, oh yeah, we know that, girl.
Absolutely, Miss Sharon. We are here to stay with you.
Sharon said, "Oh, I'm not going anywhere, boo. Nowhere." And I feel you. We aren't either. But yeah, you bring up a good point, Stephanie, and I appreciate that because it's important for us to look at it from all sides. But there's no excuse to just act like it just. I mean, because you got to know the public it wants to know something. I mean, there's no reason whatsoever that you guys couldn't have called a press conference just to say we have it. We need more investigation on this case. Stay patient, public. We're making sure that you are safe or something. Because right now the people don't feel safe. Because what if these guys? What if the cause of death is homicide? Because this is my thing, Stephanie. You tell me if the cause of death has nothing really to do with investigation. It's not like we're going to change that because now the coroner, the autopsy was done, and they feel that the cause of death is what it is. Let's just pretend it is homicide. Okay. What's going to change? You're going to say, "Oh well, wait a minute, I was mistaken. They really didn't." I'm just going to use an example. They really didn't choke him. He really died because he fell down the steps, and it was an act. I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? It can't change that drastically. So your issue, if it's anything discrepancy, it's not something that happened. It's something with your police. Maybe there needs to be something else. Maybe you should be looking at a cover up. Who knows?
And I think because of we mentioned this before in the Chief Armstrong Mandy statement. She kind of put herself between a rock and a hard place when she released that statement, because that statement is so key. She addressed so many things in that statement there. She said that he was alive and alert. She said that he was taken into custody without incident. So she's saying that at the back of the police car, after you saw the video of him being dragged because he quote unquote refused to walk, oh, he was fine. Our police officers didn't notice anything that was wrong with him. However, 5 to 10 minutes later, when he made it to the detention center, we're going to kind of go with their time frame. And I think we're going to get into that time frame.
Absolutely.
But now all of a sudden, no, he's unresponsive. There's an issue. So she put herself and her officers into this box here where she really doesn't have any room to really maneuver.
Yeah.
Because she's already saying there was absolutely nothing wrong with him. If he was alert and he was fine and he was talking to, if he was feeling any type of pain, I think that she would have maybe acknowledged that in her report. He was alert and active, but he told officers that he was having or feeling, bad about this, or something of this was hurting on him, whatever the case may have been. But she didn't. He was alert. He was fine. And then what?
So Renee says, can we get this to FBI? What do you think about that, Stephanie?
I believe that in this case here, hypothetically, we'll say that if we know that the chief of police and the officers lied to Aaliyah, because in Aaliyah repeated a lot of the things, and we know that the statement that she issued, she actually gave to Aaliyah, because on the Aaliyah statement they issued, it basically kind of repeated a lot of things that was in Mandy's statement that she released. From my research, what I've seen, that if she did lie, then I would say it does at least go to the Department of Justice. Then the United States Department of Justice.
Absolutely. And I think it has to go that far, because this is what I've been saying from the beginning. I said that, something seems a little weird here. It seems to me that when they gave him the Narcan, he was probably already dead. Mm-hmm. It also seems that when he made it to the detention facility, he was also already passed away. And then if he was already passed away when he made it to the facility, why did you guys call EMS? Was it to just make it look good, or what did you think was going to happen? If the Narcan didn't work, he's already not breathing. Because now we have reports that say when he made it to the hospital, Stephanie, he was already gray and ashy in the face. So that says maybe he was dead a while to be already gray and ashy looking.
Let me as we're doing these shows too, I like when things come up that I still need to research and I will say, because this has gone on a lot, when I do like very thorough research. And so I'm hoping that the DA and Aaliyah is doing as much diligent research to get to the very bottom of that. And you're looking at witnesses and what you just said, whoever said that what the color of his body, because that's when all those things start to set in. And if he was gray, then his body was stiff by that point. And so let me look really quickly as far as, I don't know the exact timeline when someone starts to, unfortunately, after you're deceased, start to look like that. So give me
all that matters. Time, and I said this before, the timeline matters here. I want to know what was the time of his death? What was because I think the forensic science, the autopsy can pinpoint the moment he died. I'm curious to know.
Absolutely. That's a very good point, Ella. That is a very good point, because there is a difference between the time that he was actually pronounced dead.
Oh, definitely.
Versus the time of actual death.
Absolutely. And that's how the media reported it. He was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. He didn't die there, though. I need you to understand that. He did not die in the Monroe County Hospital. He was dead on arrival. Okay? I think that's how they put the narrative out. He was rushed to the hospital. We noticed he wasn't breathing. And then you didn't notice he wasn't breathing till he got to the detention center. Make that make sense. You didn't know he wasn't breathing. You didn't know it while you were in the car. You didn't notice it when he was laying down and not moving in handcuffs. You didn't notice it. You put him in the car in handcuffs and laid him down. So when did he ever give up? Did he ever get up? So if he never sat up, then what did you think was going on? So then you get to the detention facility, and now who noticed it? Who noticed that he was unresponsive? Was it the officers that were that were in the car the entire time already? Now all of a sudden you're at the facility, and now you realize, oh wow, he's unresponsive. Then the dispatch comes. We can talk about that now. I'm going to bring the dispatch up so you can talk about the timeline a little bit. Here we go. This is the first page. The dispatch. 3 o'clock. Is at 3 o'clock that's when it went into the EMS, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
All right. So share your theories on this.
I will say that this is okay. This dispatch record being at 3, I think the exact time is 3:03. According to Manny's statement, she said about 2:30, and we kind of pinned on this in previous discussions in regards to her saying 2:30. I'm going to assume that she got that timeline either from her officer statements or from either the dispatch call when he called for backup or from video camera, body cam footage, whether it was on his person or within the car. And so for them to say from 2:30 to 3:03, they were able, the officer saw him walking, called for backup, a chase ensued according to them. They took him out of the woods, put him in the patrol car. From what I've heard also, that they actually stayed there on site for a while. I don't know how long that was, prior to them actually leaving Clausel Community and going to the detention center, which is why it's very important to note what time that he'd actually at the sheriff's detention, at the county detention center. What time
That's why we want the footage, Boat Right.
Exactly. We need the footage. Not only the footage, but the metadata behind the footage. And that's also a key thing. So if it gets kicked back to Aaliyah, or if it's the DA that's investigating this, it's not only watching the footage, but it's also notating and documenting what time that footage was recorded.
Very good.
So you're telling me in the span of 33 minutes, all of this happened. and they call DA, and then they are saying here though that the patient is going to be not breathing.
Mm-hmm.
So if whoever's looking at this, if you look at that marker on, I guess that's 57 seconds until the call, we're saying patient is going to be not breathing. You've been calling around, and I will say this on this dispatch report, and let me get your opinion too on this, Ella. At the 33-second mark, actually, let's go back really quickly. Go back to the first one.
All right.
Let's look here. Wilcox Street. So is Wilcox Street?
That's the detention facility.
That is on the detention facility. Okay. Mm-hmm. So he said they already acknowledged in here that they have a unresponsive with a faint pulse. Okay.
Patient is unresponsive of the faint pulse. Who said that? Patient is unresponsive. Is it because they're there? Somebody told them?
Because I usually take notes during our thing here. Let me actually notate that, because that's a very good point. Who exactly contacted EMS services? Was it one of the police officers? And I guess so many questions. So many were there actually two police officers that drove him to the detention center? Was it two police officers that was in one patrol car, or was it only one officer?
I'm not really sure on that part, who was in that vehicle when they made it. What I want everybody to think about it. He drives up to the Sally Port. They say you can't come in here, but the ambulance is the one that got to him. So you mean to tell me that y'all just sat there and waited? If he's having such a medical emergency, who did what?
Exactly.
Who did what? Who did
what? And somebody did something. Somebody did something, because if you look at the 14-second mark, it says that the patient is unresponsive, or the 9-second mark, unresponsive with a faint pulse. So somebody was at least skilled enough to take his pulse. Who took his pulse?
Who took his pulse? Who made the decision not to let him in? Who made that decision? What did you write on your form? Because you had to fill out some kind of form that you're refusing this patient, this suspect into your jail. You had to have something. What does that report say? But right, what did your people write on that? What did they say as to why they weren't bringing him in? And were they qualified to say why? Can you just visibly see somebody is messed up and just say that they can't come in? Did you check a pulse? Did you confirm that this person can't come in? Because what was your medical background to say he couldn't come in? And then what was the reason you wrote on the form as to why? Because I'm sure SBI had to know, hey guys, y'all refused him. Why? Do you have any paperwork on that? What was the exact time he came in? What did you notice? Because we hear so many conflicting stories. Oh, he never crossed the threshold. Well, then how did you know he had a faint pulse? Somebody had to touch him to see that he had a faint pulse. So where did you do that? Outside in the vehicle? Reaching over in the car? What? So many unanswered questions.
So that video it's a video outside of the detention center is extremely important. It's vital information there.
Well, I will say this, Stephanie, I don't know if I told you this or not. I got a call the other day from someone. Obviously, I'm not going to reveal who told me this. They said to me that there's someone on the inside of the jail that had a message for me about T. Tunstall's case. And their message was, Ella, tell the family to get the video of what happened at that Sally Port, and they will be paid. That was the exact words. That's all they gave me. So I want to go to this comment right here. She says, I'm curious as to the time difference between the time the officer saw signs of life until the time the officer realized there were no signs of life. Very good point. This is why the timeline is so important. Because if y'all doing all these shenanigans, calling EMS and Narcan and all this, I want to know if you did it while he was already dead and you knew it. That's what I want to know, because therein lies part of the problem. Now you're covering up. And look at this. This is the part I really want you guys to pay attention. Look at this last line. possibly going to be an OZ on 1077. You guys know what that means? Drugs. They're calling it. Oh, that's what this probably is. Now, if T didn't have drugs in his system, and I don't know, because we need the toxicology report for that, right? Y'all know that.
Yes.
So if we get a toxicology report and they don't find any drugs, now I got more questions. Why did you give him Narcan? What? Because Narcan is usually given for drugs, but you can give it to someone who's not on drugs and it won't hurt them. But it's usually, and this is how they wrote the narrative, we gave this to them. This is given to people who usually overdose on drugs. You see how they're trying to lead you into thinking? Now, what if the toxicology report doesn't show that he had drugs in the system? Then this too is something else they were trying to do to make you think that this man overdosed and that's why he's dead. Possibly on drugs. What you mean possibly? Did you see him take drugs? Did he mention to you when he was running that he took some drugs? Or when he was dragging him?
Any signs of his behavior to show that, oh, well, this could be a potentially drug overdose.
Absolutely.
Usually there's some types of signs within that to say, oh, it's a potential, overdose of X, Y, and Z. If you go back though to that dispatch report, I was looking at something that I'm kind of curious about, and if anybody who's watching knows that on 33-second mark here, we're actually on 23. It says just showing back up, showing some up. And I'm not sure if this is like maybe just a rough translation of what was actually said. But then on 33, it also says, yeah, bro. But then it says, you've been calling the area around. Like, what does that mean? And that's repeated at, 41 seconds, calling the area around. What is that?
What does that mean? Exactly. That's a good question.
I would love some clarification on that as well.
What does that mean? And then when they say you've been calling the area around, come on, calling the area around. What does that mean? What are you saying? Y'all didn't know where to find him? Now we're dispatched to N5 nearby. I need somebody from the police department. Call a sister up. Let me know what all this means. Because that's how I know about 1077. I know that's drugs, but I don't know about the rest of the stuff. What does it mean? Now,
I would love to see the original. And another thing I'm hoping Aaliyah did get is the original audio.
Oh gosh, yeah.
From this versus just this. And I know, usually AI these days are pretty inept when it comes to catching speech, and actually translating it. But I would like to still hear the original audio on that to see if that's what's actually being said.
So, guys, I want
to know they actually talk to the EMS workers.
Absolutely. Talk to the EMS workers. I think all of that is important to know. Who called y'all? Who was it that called? Because we don't see that in here. Was it the sheriff? I mean, the sheriff's office people? Did they call, or did the Monroeville Police Department call? And if they're the ones that call, why didn't they call on Marengo Street? Now all of a sudden you get over here to the sheriff and now you figure out you need to call? Why you couldn't figure that out when you were on Marengo Street if in fact it was the MPD that called? Crazy stuff. Just crazy. All right, guys. So I want to talk a little bit about why we're here tonight, because I want to jump into some of that because we're here for your questions. So what I want to do right now is I want those of you that are watching and you have some questions, go ahead and start typing them in because we're going to address those questions. But there's one that I want to address today, and I asked her if it was okay for me to share this because she made a point here, and I thought, wow, this is good. Let's start our questions here because she says these are my questions. So I wanted to address that tonight. She says we're applying pressure here in Mississippi. She's talking about Nolan Wells. They thought they were going to sweep this under the rug, but not on our watch. Like I said, and I will say it a million times, the district attorney should come forward, make a statement to the family and the citizens in Monroeville. That's what I was saying. Where is the sheriff? He too should be saying something. Nobody there is being transparent about what's going on with this child's death. Why isn't the attorney demanding these people come forward? These are all my questions. I would have every news channel in the surrounding areas there, she said. Very good stuff. So let's take that apart and address that. They're applying pressure. Great. The district attorney should come forward and make a statement. We all agree with that, right, Stephanie? Correct. Where's the sheriff? This is why I wanted to educate you guys tonight about the sheriff and his responsibility in this. He's not just exempt. How are you going to be the top law enforcer in the county and you just don't have anything? It ain't on me. And that's your response? I was offended with his statement. And you guys should have been offended with his statement because he's not there to just deal with the stuff he wants to deal with. No, you are the top chief enforcer for the county. Now, if you can't handle certain things, then why do you have that title? It doesn't make sense that you can only handle certain things. Oh, well, we can handle it because it's on that side of town. But anything over here, we can't really, I don't want to speak on that. You are the top chief enforcer for the county. We expect you to speak on it. We expect you to talk about, well, guys, listen, I was on the phone with Mandy. I talked to them and they're working with this. We're looking at this over here. We're going to look at some policies, guys, because we want to make sure y'all are safe. Oh, you guys got concerns because those officers are still there? Well, let me check on some things and see, because my job also is to make sure that the public is safe. Y'all don't feel too safe right now because you might have some killers on the police force, just as plain as I can say it. So yes, sir, you have a responsibility in this. And that's what Ms. Ree is saying. Why isn't the attorney demanding these people come forward? I'm going to have a conversation with the attorney on Tuesday. How about that? I am going to have a conversation with Sharon's attorney on Tuesday, and I'll report back to you guys what I can report back to you about. She does have attorneys, so I want to address that right now because that's also one of the questions. Does Sharon have an attorney? Yes, she has excellent attorneys, and his name is not Ben Crump. Okay, she has excellent attorneys who are very well versed in how to handle these kinds of situations. They are not speaking right now because they just want to be careful. That's all it is. That's all it is right now. It's not that they don't know what to do. It's not that they haven't done anything. They've done quite a bit when it comes to this case, but they cannot speak yet. And that I'm asking you guys to just be patient with, because it's coming. I promise you it's coming. They've talked about, possible press releases and all of that. I mean, press conferences and all that. So just be patient on that. But she does have attorneys. That's why they're not speaking on it. And maybe some of what you just asked from Ms. Ree, they are doing. They're just not publicizing it. Do you have anything else to add to that, Stephanie?
You know what? You just made a good point. And we'll talk more about this, but what I will say, again, in comparison to the Nolan Wells, and I know that, it's Ben Crump that is leading that part, is representing his family. But I will say that he has been very vocal about what's going on. Now, I'm not faulting, Sharon's attorneys. I'm just still curious why they haven't, and like you just said, I'm sure press releases are to come, but I'm still kind of curious why we have not heard from them, why they have not demanded answers, why they haven't been applying pressure in this situation. I'm just curious from that aspect, and I know that the end game, I'm very sure it's going to be, there's a reason for every action. So. Yeah. I think I think that's why maybe some people are trying to push and say, oh, well, you need Ben Crump because, he's out there in the front and he's doing X, Y, and Z and all of that. So I think, when it comes to some of the information being released, maybe we will, the people who's been following the story will understand why they have been silent until they actually speak on it.
Yeah. I just wanted to let people know that, Ben Crump is not really needed on this case. Not. Ben Crump is very busy. He's got a lot of issues and a lot of stuff he's got to deal with himself, and not to take anything away from him and his accomplishments as an attorney, a civil rights attorney. But Sharon feels like she has the lawyers that she feels will get justice for her son. And that's really all that matters. And so that's where we are with that. But I do agree, Stephanie, it would be nice. And that's what I will say to him when I talk to him on Tuesday. Like, listen, Can you give him something? And if the answer to that is no, the answer to that is no. They want to win this case, so they're not going to do anything to jeopardize that.
Yeah,
because I've even tried to get them on the show.
At the end of the day, as long as they're keeping, Miss Sharon informed, that's the most vital thing. So
yeah, they're keeping her informed on every step they're making. They're letting her know what they're doing. And she trusts them enough to share that some of the information with me on Tuesday so that I can get a better understanding as well. So we can kind of get you guys focused in another area. I don't know, like sharing these broadcasts, sharing everything so that we can get the word out. That's what we really need to do. So I want your questions. I believe different attorneys may have different tactics for different situations. We just won't know until an actual court docket is created. Very well said, dear, because they move differently. Okay. That's all with that. So you didn't have anything else to add to her question? Because we're going to jump into some more questions here.
Yeah, we can go to the next one.
All right. So let's start going into some of our questions. Hello, Anita. I see you. Thank you so much, Anita. I saw that you shared, and all of you that are sharing that post that I put out today, everybody, please share it. Please share it. We need every single person, especially, you don't have to even know anything about T-Tel, so just share the broadcast. Just share, the post, just share it. And this broadcast, just share. The more people we get on board with this, the better. All right, so let's look at some of these questions here we got. Will the Monroe County District Attorney present case evidence to a grand jury to secure criminal charges against the involved officers? And if charges are pursued, will the officers face counts of murder, manslaughter, or criminally negligent homicide? So that's the biggest question. What do we have to say with that? What do you have to say about it?
Oh, I'm hoping that will be the case there, that they will present this to the attorneys for to the grand jury. What I will say that is vital in that statement, though, is like who in Monroe would the grand jury be composed of?
Oh, they don't need to have it in Monroe.
When it came to the Carmelo Anthony trial, and knowing that what history it was, made of. And again, I will just slip this in there. This jury selected by people who are registered to vote.
Right.
So that kind of goes back to ensuring that you're registered to vote, so you can be selected. But for one with that grand jury, who will it consist of from there when it is presented? But I think at this point, especially if hypothetically it comes back as homicide, it definitely has to be presented. And then how will he present it, and what charges will he present to the grand jury?
The evidence matters.
Absolutely.
Whatever evidence he has to match one of these charges. In other words, if he has testimony from XYZ that, I'm just going to use something, they saw the officers actually kill that person, then it would probably be murder. But I don't know anything about the law enough to know what they charge. I just know that it depends on whatever evidence they have and based on what charge they think they can get a conviction out of. So that's kind of where we are with that one.
Yeah, a conviction out of, and that's what kind of like with our last broadcast was saying, that because of those relationships, there are different charges in which that can be presented that varies. If it's, for instance, if it is homicide, and if it's gross or reckless, negligence, then it can be presented as a misdemeanor, or it can be presented as a felony. That's vitally important because they come with different significant jail terms, so by again applying this pressure and realizing that we know every element of this case, don't present it as a misdemeanor, because that'll only get them up to 12 months in jail.
Absolutely. And that's crazy.
And that is absolutely crazy.
That is absolutely crazy.
Absolutely crazy. And going back to that previous comment in which somebody said they're curious of the time difference between the time officer shows signs, that at that point, it goes further than gross negligence. It's almost like you knew there was an issue, and now you were trying to rally to determine how it can be. It can be. Let me see. It can be
deliberate indifference
without fault to the police officers. Yeah. It's almost like you guys, okay, what can we do in order to make sure that this doesn't fall back on us?
No, definitely.
And so then that becomes a whole different thing.
Anita says it needs to be moved far away from here, to be fair. I 1000%. I think that's something the attorneys were probably going to look at as well. They don't want it in Monroeville. I mean, think about it. Johnny D, they moved his, but he's still, see what happened with him. I believe the Sallyport video will tell us the charges.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I definitely think that Sallyport video will give us a lot of information in regards to what they knew, when they knew it, this potential cover up in that regard.
Yeah, I agree. I need y'all's questions. The attorney already said if it comes to that, they will not have a trial in Monroeville. Okay. I hope not. It's going nowhere if they do it in Monroeville. We already know that. But thank you so much, Sharon. I need you guys questions. Bring your questions. All right, we got more questions because what we're doing tonight is we're going to answer your questions live, but we're also going to answer questions that we've already received. All right, let's go over to this one. Let me move this comment out of the way so we can see. We have some questions regarding systemic accountability. Will the Alabama Peace Officer Standards and Training Commission permanently revoke the law enforcement certificates of all involved parties? If they're charged with homicide, manslaughter, something like that, absolutely. They will lose their license in Alabama for sure. That's why I asked the question about the mayor one day. I said, hey, listen, are you going to report it? Or are we going to have to report it? Are we going to have to let the APOSTC know what's going on with your officers? Because we will. We have no problem doing that because they need to know. That's why you file a complaint with APOSTC when you find that you have officers that are violating their police protocol. And here in this case, they could have easily violated police protocol from Monroeville, but nobody can get a copy of it because they don't want to release it.
That is
right. Yeah. So civil racketeering. Does this coordinated deception allow the Tunstall family's legal team to pursue federal RICO or Section 1983 civil rights claims against the entire department? What say you on that, Stephanie?
I believe it does. If hypothetically, if it comes back as homicide, hypothetically, if it comes back that the officers were at fault, undeniably at fault, at fault. Yes, there was a concerted effort for them to cover that up, because even if the chief was taking her officer's word for it, I would think in your position that you would do, again, due diligence and make sure that whatever body cam evidence you have would actually back that up. I would expect that she would have, look at the camera footage from that Sallyport from the sheriff's office just to ensure, to back that up. And so if she looked at that and still chose to give that statement to the public, still chose to give that statement to Aaliyah, then yes, it does fall under some type of, I'm sure, RICO statute, and when it comes,
that's why the timeline is so important.
It's almost like a given, as it said.
That's why the timeline is so important, because anything that happened after he was already dead is a cover-up, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. All right, so let's go to next questions we got here. Now we got questions regarding state criminal charges. Will the Alabama Attorney General or local DA file criminal conspiracy charges against the chief and officers for coordinating a cover-up? Yeah. I don't think anyone should get away with anything in this case.
Absolutely.
If you guys, city council, had done your job, you might not have had these officers back on the beat, because y'all didn't contest anything. You didn't ask questions. You didn't ask the police department anything about what happened out there. I don't understand that. Now, if y'all did, please somebody correct me, because I want to be wrong. I really want somebody to be like, no, Ella, they did. They questioned him. Okay, what happened? I think that if these officers ended up back on the job, it's a failure from the city council and everyone involved that could have stopped it. Because y'all could have said, Mayor, we're not paying those guys. You can put them back if you want to, but we're not paying. We do not agree to pay men that are involved in an incident of a man that's dead. We can't do it, sir. Not until this investigation comes back. We need to know what happened out there. But they just didn't.
And I was highly surprised that he allowed him to go back to work. I mean, even if you were quote unquote staff, like that was just such
that's a rookie.
I think maybe they allowed them to go back to work to try to give the image, hey, nothing, they didn't do anything wrong. So yeah, we're gonna allow them to go back to work. But yet and still, I was very, very surprised that happened. And now if they are found to be at fault, they have a lot of things to answer for.
Yeah, absolutely. Making false statements. Will the state formally charge each individual with making false statements to law enforcement? They should. If there's anyone, I mean, you can't make false statements to an official, a government official, right? I mean, there's consequences for that.
Correct. As far as, if we as citizens can't do it, then I'm sure that even law enforcement agencies or officers are unable to do it.
That's why I think that there needs to be some oversight on this, because now we don't really trust you guys to police yourselves. Yeah, y'all can't even make a statement that's right. So no, we need somebody else to come in and see what's going on at the Monroeville Police Department. We need somebody else to come in and say, hey, Sheriff, what are you doing about this, bro? Like, what's going on? People are calling my office. They're not happy with what's going on in Monroeville. You're there to keep the peace. You're there to make sure they understand they're safe. What are you doing? Oh, it's an election season. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm sorry. My bad. No, I don't care if it's an election season. You're still the sheriff. So all of y'all need to do your job, whether it's election season or not. I need questions from you guys. I can't believe that they were allowed to go back because of their safety. Yeah, they needed a safe Monroeville, so that's why the officers went back. Yeah, documentation beats conversation. If it wasn't read, then it wasn't said. Ooh, girl, that's deep. We need to pin that comment. Mm-hmm. She said documentation beats conversation. If it wasn't read, then it wasn't said. I completely agree, Doris. Yeah. All right, so let's go to some more tampering evidence. Did the falsehoods extend the falsifying official police reports, deleting digital logs, or altering body-worn camera footage? What do you say here?
This here is kind of like a delicate situation, because going back to Mandy's statement, everything that she said prior to, in the very end, she did say that body cam footage and evidence had been turned over to Aaliyah. So I'm curious in that aspect to know if you turned over any body cam footage that potentially could have been altered in order to fit the statement that she put out. Because that shows to me a lack of competency. If you put out a statement like that and then also said that you turned over body cam footage, and I'm going to again assume that you actually looked at this body cam footage, and so it was that altered, either whether it was by her or by the officers. Because if there's a news report too that says that she or the MPD called Aaliyah within, I think, 45 minutes after he was pronounced deceased, and to start an investigation. So was that footage altered in order to fit or try to fit the narrative? And if not, that's just
Well, that's a good question. That is a good question, because it's not like it's unheard of, guys. It's not like it's unheard of that police departments will look at body cam footage and find a way to delete some of it, parts they don't like. Okay. There was a case right there in Alabama. I can't remember the young man's name, but it was a case where there was some incident that happened in the woods, just like T. But when it came time to look at the body cam footage, it wasn't available. And the cause of death was it may have been a homicide cause of death, but they didn't have the footage. In other words, they didn't have any evidence or something. It was something that went kooky with it. And people made noise about it for a while, and it just went away. They just stopped fussing about it because there was no evidence. They had no proof that these officers actually did it. But they also caught where the officers gave at CPR at the end. They had that. They just didn't have the stuff a few minutes before when he was either being beaten, tased, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So this is real.
And I will say on the tampering with evidence beyond just the digital logs, let me just say that those digital logs should be also pertaining to the tasers. The taser should, I don't think there's anything on like pepper spray, so to speak, that logs anything. But I will say anytime a taser is utilized by a police officer, it does note the time, date, the voltage that is utilized, and the time, also the amount of time that it was actually being utilized. And whether it's what they call a dry stun, or if it was a tase in which the prongs were, dispersed and actually went to a person's body, it should still log that. And so that's another key piece of evidence to show if those tasers, if that information was given to Aaliyah in regards to use of any type of tasers.
Yeah, because we know it wasn't really the prong one, because they would have had to take him directly to a facility because they're like coming out.
I'll call EMS to the scene.
Absolutely. So
they were supposed to, but at the same time, given what we saw in the video, are they even following any type of protocols or rules or procedures?
They got procedures, they just didn't follow them that day.
Exactly. So even though they were hypothetically, if they use a taser and the prongs went out, I don't think they still would call, given what their actions after the fact.
Now Sharon says here, I think they sent them back because they didn't know I was going to get attorneys. The Attorney General was surprised when I spoke to him. After then, he asked me who they were and shut me down real fast. I'm not really sure what you were talking about here, Sharon. Please clarify that, because I want to make sure I get your point across, but I'm not really sure what you're saying here. Doris says, I believe in Moreover, there's a bit too much of. I believe in Moreover, there's a bit too much of. I do believe in Moreover, there's a bit too much of nepotism. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that, girl, because I did not know.
Yeah,
I do believe in Moreover, there's a bit too much of nepotism. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's common. I'm not surprised if you see some of that. Let's go on to some more questions here. How does the false testimony conflict with the objective electronic data, such as taser download logs, dash cam footage, and medical examiner findings? How does the false testimony conflict with the objective electronic data? Will state investigations use grand jury subpoenas to access the officer's personal cell phones and text messages to prove they colluded on a false narrative? I'm pretty sure that yes, they will probably use subpoenas, because they may have to go into, because there's a lot of personal stuff going on there. You got people in office telling civilians things that are going on inside either the police department, sheriff's office. You have that going on, okay? Because some of the people that talk to me, they're people that don't necessarily work there, but they know someone who does. And then I also talk to people that work there as well. However, what I'm saying is that there's a whole lot of personal conversation going on with your leadership not treating this like a real profession. Like they think this is like their own personal, I'm going to do you some favors. I actually had people tell me one of the reasons they care so much about Boatwright is because the favors that he's done for them. And my response to that was, it's not about you. Okay. There are a whole bunch of other people that depend on him. Huh?
What type of favors was done?
Yeah, like things that keep him out of jail, favors. Okay. So when I hear stuff like that, then I'm like, wait a minute. Nah. No, 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 no. I can't. Don't tell me that. Because you can't use that position. And I can't really say that this really happened, but right. So I want to say in his defense, this is just something someone told me. It doesn't mean it really happened. Okay, because I don't have Boat right here to ask him. I'm just saying if things like this is happening in the police department and or the sheriff's office, that's not good. That's not good because you have a whole bunch of other constituents that you owe. You can't just cater to that one person. You got to cater to everybody, right? And then there was will investigators offer prosecutorial immunity or plea deals to lower level officers or witnesses to break the wall of silence and testify against the chief? I think that would be great. I think that they do need to offer some kind of immunity to people that are not involved. Okay, not involved, because everybody involved needs to go the full extent of the law. But people that are not involved, that maybe they told something to help piece together this evidence, I think they should offer some kind of immunity or plea deals to those people in any kind of way. Like the guy that didn't do anything, but he held the door. You know what I'm saying? The one that was holding the door. Hey, talk to him. What went on in that vehicle once you guys pulled off? How long did y'all sit there before you left? When you left, where did you go? Did y'all go directly to the jail or did they go somewhere else? What were they talking about inside the vehicle? Were they making jokes about T? Were they bragging about what they did? I'm asking these questions because it happens. This is what happens in your police departments across America. So it could possibly have happened in Monroeville. So that's why I'm saying those are the kind of questions, if I were an attorney, I would want to find out. Right, Steph?
Absolutely. And even when it comes to the sheriff's office, going back to Jerry Nettles, we see that certain behaviors has been condoned almost. When you give someone a light punishment sentence, it's condoning their behavior. And so
that Jerry Nettles thing was, guys, I have to say, Stephanie, since we're talking about that, I downloaded the app for the sheriff's office. And I just went thumbing through it to see there are people that have been in there for years. What is criminal trespassing? I mean, without trials, like they're just there. I want to look into that a little bit more. The reason I download is because I've had people that have complained to me about what's going on in the jail with these people sitting there. There's no date. They have no court dates. They're just left there like to die, I guess. With nothing. I mean, you want to look into that a little further. Like, why are they sitting here? Do they not have an attorney or record? Did the courts not appoint them one? Why don't they have a court date? What is their sentence? Have they been sentenced to jail? Because what is their, you know what I'm saying? It just doesn't make sense. And
I will say that sometimes people who sit in jail, and they may even have a very low bail amount, but given economic times, they don't have anyone who can bail them out between the time they were arrested and the time their actual trial date comes up. So I think that's one reason there in why they may sit in jail. And I will also say, if this is found to be where a lot of people falsify statements, then we will have to go back and examine, other cases that was prosecuted, or in which people were arrested. I'm sorry. That is my dog here that is trying to keep her opinion as well. She even agrees that there's.
Thank you, babe. What's the dog's name?
The waters.
What's the dog's name?
Her name is Jewel. Come here, Jewel.
Jewel, thank you, love.
Jewel I appreciate
that. She is saying amen to the choir is what she's doing. Right. So now we can address Sharon's comment. Hi there, Jewel.
Yeah.
Hi. You want justice for T2, don't you, baby?
Yes.
Bark if you agree.
Right.
Yes.
Speak.
He's like, okay, I ain't got time for you. You ain't paying me to do this.
Right.
That's true. I'm not paying you to do it. I ain't got it for you, baby. All right, so now let's go back to Sharon's comment because I didn't understand it before. She's saying I'm talking about why they sent the officers back to work. Okay, so now let's go back and address her comment where she says, I know they sent them back because they didn't know I was going to get attorneys. The attorney general was surprised when I spoke to him. After then, he asked me who they were and shut me down real fast. Okay. So basically, she's saying that, these guys going back to work like that, nobody discussed that. Nobody even said to Miss Sharon, hey, look, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. The guys are being supervised. I mean, they put all of this out there to make you feel okay with that idea. The sad part about it is who's following up? Who in the police department is following up to see if, in fact, they are going out with supervisors? Are they? Have you had any complaints on these officers? Because I've heard that some of these same officers are still out here causing problems. So if I've heard that, I don't know. You guys,
I've also heard that some of these same officers were causing problems prior to this happening. And that's another thing we discussed previously is like, I would like to see any prior allegations against these officers of any potential wrongdoing, excessive force, etc., what have you. And that kind of goes back to a complete, and what we discussed earlier, in potential of a RICO charge, if it was a systemic case of a cover-up, knowing that these officers had issues, knowing that there's been complaints against them, yeah. And I would also like, Ms. Sharon, if you would clarify, you said you spoke with the Attorney General. Is that the Attorney General of the Alabama?
Yes.
Is?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
She did call them. You're a mom. You lost your son. You'll call anybody. So she called to the Attorney General. Yeah. They got her off the phone kind of thing. This is one of those cases where nobody really wants to touch it. We have a question here. Doris says, why doesn't Monroeville have a jail view so people will know who is in Monroe County Jail? Even the city of Bruton has a jail view. They have an app, Doris. They have an app. You can download it. It's called Monroe Co. or something like that. But you can look it up. Go to where you get your downloads and put it in. They actually do have it. That's why I was able to see it, to see all the people that are actually in jail, how long they've been in there and what they've been charged with. It was kind of crazy. It really was crazy because I couldn't understand. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're in here for little petty stuff.
Yeah. I'm trying to get a statistic in regards to of the number of African Americans that's like just incarcerated, period.
So I'm going to go to another question while you do this. Did not know that. That's right, dear. They do have it. I downloaded it the other day. Somebody's asking, can you post the links? Okay, we'll definitely do that. So I want to ask some questions that somebody did send me today. Does Sharon have an attorney? Why not saying anything? We've handled that. Why are you the only one talking about this? Mike Q. Okay, we talked about that. I showed you guys the stuff with Monroe Journal. How do we know we're safe? Good question. How do you know you're safe? Well, I tell you where you look for those answers. The people you hired. The people you hired should tell you whether you're safe or not. That can be the city council. That can be your mayor. That can be your sheriff. All of these people owe you. Don't sit around and think that the sheriff didn't have anything to do with this and he doesn't have to talk about it. That is not true. Okay. And if that is what you guys are resonating with before you go into this election because you just need something to feel good, then you can do that. That's fine. I don't really, that's not my dog in the fight, but just understand what is due to you. That is the only reason I'm bringing all of that up, is so that you don't go into your election blind thinking that he did everything right and everybody else did everything wrong. No, he has a responsibility still, even if he's not the investigative officer for this. His officers did not do that to T. That's true. They did not. He did not arrest T. and caused this to happen. That is true. He did not bring T into that jail and then he died inside the jail. That is true. But he's also the sheriff. And sheriffs can speak on these kinds of issues just to make sure that everybody else is doing their job. You know, that's why when people are talking about, oh, Mandy did all this and she did all of that. Well, you got a sheriff there. Why aren't you telling him? If if the officers there are not doing their job, he can intervene in that. He can intervene in that without it being an issue that deals with the DA. When it comes to certain things, I don't quote me on that. I just know that based on what we talked about earlier, he can do something to ensure accountability and that there's public trust still in the community. That's all I'm saying. How do we know we're safe? Okay, what is the cause of death? We don't know the cause of death. We're waiting on the DA to disclose that information. They do know because SBI has turned it over to them. Where is NAACP? Why aren't they involved? That's a good question. NAACP, from my understanding, you have NAACP in Monroeville. Why aren't they involved? NAACP, why aren't you involved? Let's ask them. Who's the president of NAACP? Why isn't anyone reaching out to him? Why are we trying to get all these other people involved and then you can't even get the people in Monroeville involved in this who are in these kind of positions? They're supposed to be the national advancement for the Association of color people. That's what I hate that. Anyway, I just saying that what the NAACP means, it just kind of did set right coming out, but that's what it means. Why aren't they involved? Why aren't we asking questions? That's a good question. Why not do an independent autopsy? The reason that is not done is because that was a decision between Sharon and her attorneys. You'll find out why later. Okay. I cannot disclose that information, but you will find out why there was not an independent autopsy done. Why isn't Ben Crump involved? We've talked about that because people want to bring visibility. Well, we are the visibility. If you guys want everybody else to know about it, then share it. Share it, and then we'll have millions of viewers as well on this subject and talking about it. Then at some point, we'll have to get other podcasters involved, like Stephanie did. She went on to another podcaster's show to talk about T. Tunstall situation. And today, right, Stephanie, that you posted this, and it had like 62 shares. And that was right before the show started, I checked. It's probably more now.
That was actually on a different post. And so, again, if anyone who wants to try to just share and make a difference, whatever post you've seen, like still in the comments or whatever, if you're belong to groups in Facebook, share this. And so that was actually on a different platform. And now I think it's up to almost 100 in regards to, and that group, if in case anyone is curious, it's called History for Black Scholars. It's a group that I'm
part of. In there.
I will reference it in there. And I will also send the link and share the link to the podcast that was done on Wednesday night. But the thing about it is, and someone asked earlier in the comments, let me see if I can find it. They were asking why has it not been national? Do you recall seeing that comment?
Yes. Why hasn't this gone national?
It hasn't because we haven't shared it enough. We haven't pressured, or I'm going to say pressured. We haven't asked our fellow people, our family members, our friends, even strangers in the community to share this. And a lot of times I will say, especially in my own statistics that in which I've shared this story, you may get a response 1 out of, oh my God, maybe to the extreme, maybe 1 out of 50 in sharing it. But at the same time, that doesn't stop you. And it's important that we continue to share the story so that we can apply that pressure for the right thing to happen.
Another question here is, who can we reach out to? What if this happens again? Who can we reach out to? What do we want to tell people about this, Stephanie? Who do they reach out to? I'll just say my piece. I think you need to reach out to your city council You want to have y'all really need to bring the people together to have some kind of meeting, city council. If you don't believe me and what your people are asking you, why don't you find out for yourself? I mean, you get paid to do it.
Absolutely.
Why don't you find out what the citizens of Monroeville need, since they elected you and put you in that seat to do just that? So why don't you call some kind of public hearing, make it, put it in the paper. Put it in the paper so that all of the residents of Monroeville can come to the city hall, wherever you guys have your meetings, and voice their opinions. Stop trying to paralyze people from being able to say how they really feel. Because you want people to say, you don't want any stress because you got the media there, so you don't want them to say too much. Well, you need to hear it. You need to hear how they feel about how you guys have handled this Tunstall case. You need to hear it. You need to hear it. Don't discount it just because you hear it from me, because I am talking to your residents. So it's important for you guys to care about the community and at least hear what they have to say. You know, that's one thing. You guys should demand that. You should demand that. Maybe somebody needs to put an article in the newspaper. Let's pay for it. If we got to pay for it, let's put a big ad in the paper, Stephanie, and let's see how much it costs. And maybe you guys can give towards that, and we can put a big ad in the paper. If they want us to pay for it, you should do it, because it's just news, and that's what you are, a news media outlet. You're supposed to release information to the public that they need to know. But okay, we'll pay for it if that's what you want to do. If that's what it takes, then we'll pay for it. You know, so we got to find a way, guys. When you say reach out to people, you got to place a demand on the people that you have hired to look out for you.
Absolutely.
Just like Stephanie said earlier, if I'm paying for something and I'm not getting it, I'm going to have some issues. You let me go to Macy's somewhere and I get an outfit and I get home and find out it's torn. What do you think is going to happen? I'm not paying for that.
You're going to take it back and you're going to demand a refund.
That's right. And that's what y'all need to do. Maybe y'all need to demand a refund on some of these people you elected. Maybe it's time to get people in there that knows and cares. But see, this is the thing. They all say that at election time, right? You never really know. I tell you how you can tell. Look at who's standing up for you now. Who's standing up for you now and who's making excuses from standing up for you. Just saying. All right. What if I have like a couple more that somebody sent me? What if this happens again? Well, you guys are going to decide that, because if you get rid of the officers that did this, or if they did something wrong, let's make sure I'm saying that correctly, because it's not proven that they did anything wrong. But if they did something wrong, then they need to go. That's how you make sure it doesn't happen again. People that come to Monroeville thinking they can just treat people any kind of way, they need to know, no, not here, because you will get fired, period. They need to know that. And I don't think they do. That's why they're so cocky. Who is running Monroeville? Oh, wow. This became a big issue, Stephanie. Okay, guys, listen. Let me take some of these comments before I answer this question. Can you post that link, please? Okay, somebody's asking about the link. She's going to post it, I guess, to the jail view or something like that. How do you, Renettle says, Doris, how do we believe in someone? How do we believe in someone if there is a bit of nepotism? That doesn't make sense. Okay. All right. This is so sad. There's Just Mercy coming again. Okay. She's referring to the movie Just Mercy. I second this motion. Contact any reporter at any of your news stations on TV. They will be glad to investigate. Very good point. Thank you, Ree.
Actually, Ree Nettles, I'm going to say this because, like I said, that I have sent this to a lot of people, and we're not getting responses that you would think, honestly. And I will also say that in my research, even presently on the show tonight, the Tri-Counter Reporter, I'm not sure if people are familiar with it, but it does say that it is a special ledger to the Monroe County. But if you look up their report, they're giving very misleading headlines. I did send it to you, Ella. I'm not sure if you can show that last thing I sent you on Messenger, but if you Google it and it comes up, it literally says that he passed away from opioid overdose.
That T died from opioids? What?
I sent it to you on I don't know if you can drop it up. Let me bring it in and drop it. But yes, I screenshotted it and also sent the link to you.
Okay.
But that is what it comes up. It says that if he overdosed and that was the cause of his death.
All right, I'm gonna pull that right now.
That was extremely disappointing. And so that's another thing is people are being given the wrong information. And some people are intentionally misleading people who are actually trying to investigate and research this case.
Is that a legitimate media source?
Let me. I'm
going to do it right now. I'm getting ready to pull it up.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to pull it up because I want to deal with this stuff right now. Tried it. All right. All right, here we go. This is what you're talking about.
Yeah. So the Tri-City Ledger there. And so do you see where it has there? He has overdosed on opioids.
Wow.
And if you click that, let me see if I can see anything. The link. If you click that link on it, then it says that it is a. Let me see if I can pull it back here.
See, this is what I'm talking about. This is why it's so important to have these kinds of conversations, because like Stephanie said, we've reached out to a lot of different people. Like I've actually been in conversations with Alabama NAACP. I've been in conversations with WKRG, one of the reporters. And I'm giving them this information. And who knows that right after I finish talking to them, they could be going online to find this. But I mean, if you're looking for information, it's easier to find it. You don't just rely on Tri-City Ledger. Like, are they even a legitimate media source? Because we have a lot of fakes out here, guys, putting stuff out in the media. That's why you don't just use certain references, because they may not even be legit. So if they got information like this coming out here, we're going to have to talk about stuff like this. And we're going to have to put the Tri-City Ledger on blast, because he did die. And he did get Narcan. Okay.
And I will say,
he did not die over drugs. He did not die from a drug overdose. That is not, I can assure you, that is not what he died from. Okay. And I'm just saying that because that's something I know for sure. So,
and what I will say that, if you see my search there at the top, that was 7:15, 15 minutes into our discussion tonight. This was on the main page of Google. It wasn't me going to the second, third, fourth page to look for results. This was on their main page there.
This is on the main page.
The main page when you Google the research. Google reports. And so for that being there, and people see that, it's quickly to dismiss what has happened, because they are saying in that top page, oh, it was just an opioid, and I will say that even some of the other reports that we have had, the news stations, they have used and kind of emphasized the fact that they gave him Narcan. So they can, to me, in my opinion, to show that or try to mislead the audience and saying, oh, well, he died, but that was probably because of an overdose.
Well, guess what? That's how Monroe wanted it. Let's just be honest,
Absolutely.
guys.
And people the news are contributing to that.
Yes.
And the only way we can fight that narrative is to share the real information.
Oh, that infuriates me. That is just so careless. And so that's just crazy. I like this comment. She says, there is no what if it happens again. I'm sure it already has. That's why they're so comfortable with Tunstall. Yeah, I'm sure it has. Monroe has a history that you guys are going to be a little shocked about. We're going to bring that. I wanted to bring that show tonight, but we need to do some more research. But Monroe has a history of sheriffs just being all out here killing folks. and doing whatever they want. We have a history of that in Monroeville. Of course, y'all know about Johnny D. McMillan, that whole Just Mercy situation. I mean, that's just one of them. And that's because it made headlines. Now, that one did make headlines with Johnny D. Ella has tagged Devin Wash from News 5. Several of them no response. Yeah, I did speak briefly with that person right there. But it's like you give them the information they're looking for, and then just like what Stephanie says, they just disappear. So we got to do it ourselves. We don't have to sit around and wait on WKRG or Fox or where any of these news stations. We don't have to wait on them now. Yes, we need their help to get this spreaded, but we can do it too. We can do it too.
That's quite ironic almost that you just mentioned WKRG. I'm going to send you one more screenshot that I just looked back up. Their headline for this story on WKRG: Monroeville man was talking to officers in alert when placed in patrol car. There's a lot of headlines. There's a lot of things that you can say, but just that headline in itself is, to me, misleading.
All right, let's pull it up. I want everybody to see it.
Give that, maybe put that into the article itself, but to say that that's your headline that comes up, you're giving them a leeway into the, to get out of the responsibility and accountability to this death.
Okay. And so this is why, guys, sometimes when I'm out here and we're trying to get this message across, this is the kind of stuff they see. Monroeville man dies after getting Narcan. That's the one you just sent me, right?
I let me see. It's one more. Let me see if it went through.
So, I mean,
it's one more after that message for the day, because that was still the Tri-City Ledger. So there's one more again from.
I see this one right here. Let's look at this one.
And that's
because it says Monroeville man was talking to officers on alert when placed in patrol car. This is what I don't understand, how the media reports that, and you have no proof of that.
Exactly.
Like, you're supposed to be able to report.
That's why it hasn't gotten the attention that it deserves, because the media is giving headlines like this.
And this is what I'm saying, but everybody wants the media. They're not always the best route to go. Not always.
It takes these and we're familiar with grassroots efforts being like going to door, but thankfully technology has given us at a split second move of your thumb. You don't have to go and knock on someone's door. You can share it. That's the new grassroots. That's the new way in which we spread the message.
See, this is what I'm talking about. When I saw the article, the news report from WKRG, they just used Mandy's talking points and went with that. There was no other side. There was no other way of looking at it. It was, he was alert, talking to officers when placed in the patrol car. If I didn't see that, I'm not going to say that. Just because she said that. Because, see, this is the sad part. That's the same thing the mayor said, allegedly, to Thomas Jackson. Oh, he was alert when he was getting in that car. Y'all saw the video. Did he look alert to you? And for those that keep going back and forth with me on Facebook about that, Terry Falk, I need you to pay attention to the video. Do we need to show the video?
Show the video, Ella. Let's show the video.
Yeah. Let's show the video. Since you guys seem to think he was alert and talking to officers. Let's see this video real quick, guys. Let me move this out of the way here so we can see it.
Picked up and thrown into the back.
Oh my God. Girl, I'm telling you, I'm this close.
And
Ooh.
there's a few key things there in that video, because we have sound, we have audio on that video. We don't hear them talking to T at that point. Even if he quote unquote refused to walk, when he got to that vehicle, they didn't even say, okay, well, get up and get inside the vehicle. They literally just picked him up and put him in there, which to me shows that he was unconscious at that point. At the very least, unconscious. He was not aware of what was going on. The officers didn't even try to say, get up and now get into the vehicle. They literally just went from dragging him, picking him up, and throwing him in the back seat.
Yeah. Even if he did die from opioid, come to the family and the citizens and give them a full toxicology report. That's simple. It's not hard to do. Yeah, any kind of report would have been great, but there's no opioid. See, this is what I'm saying when I say, Mandy, you tried it, because I know exactly what they were doing in that statement. They were creating a narrative, and Monroeville's good for it, guys. That's why you got to know your history. They're good at it, at creating a narrative, just like they did with Johnny D, so that you have to believe the officers. The officers are not gonna lie. That child did that. He was probably on drugs, and that's probably what killed him. How many of you said that after you watched that read her statement? How many? So many people probably said that after you read Mandy's statement, because you just think the police are gonna tell the truth. I know that Monroeville doesn't want to get sued, and I know they had to present something that would make them look like they did not excessively beat T and kill him, and that we need to make sure he was alive, guys. We didn't do anything to him. Well, I don't know what happened after you got in the car, but he was alert when he was on our watch. Nothing happened when we had him. Right. Except there's a video. Except there are witnesses that heard T yelling in the woods. I'm sure he wasn't out there yelling because he was getting pricked by a bush. He was yelling for another reason. So Mandy went to someone, I'm sure the lawyers, the city attorney for Monroeville, I'm sure probably had a hand in making sure. That's why it took them 3 days to do it. Made sure that we're going to put out a statement that doesn't make these officers look bad now. We don't need an uprising. We don't need the people in Monroeville coming up here and saying that our police killed somebody. So we need to make sure that they understand, one, this is a young man that y'all know is probably on drugs. So, that's probably what killed him. See how they did that and y'all bought it? And Narcan doesn't necessarily mean that you have opioids in your system. Sometimes they're just guessing, and they did it to hopefully try to save his life. But it doesn't mean he had opioids in his system to get Narcan, okay? And sometimes Narcan works, and it restores that person that may have overdosed. But if it doesn't work, it could be for one or two reasons. Either he didn't have drugs in his system, or, y'all ready for this? He was already dead.
Yeah.
I rest my case on that one. Police are trained to administer Narcan. Did they administer it? Yes, they did. They did read. They administered Narcan. We don't know when. Like, when in the timeline did it happen, Stephanie?
From the reports that I've seen, it seems like it happened once EMS, and someone else in the comments said this too, and I think we've discussed this previously when we were talking to Stephen, but the Narcan wasn't administered until the EMS arrived. From what I've seen, from the research that I've seen, that the EMS, not the officers. However, from my understanding, the officers are trained to administer Narcan. So, and I think we have those reports there. Let me just see if I can kind of skim back on it really quick to verify the administrator of that Narcan.
See, this is what I'm talking about. When did they give who gave the Narcan? Was it because usually EMS, you call them out to kind of assist with that when you do that? I've seen that in a videotape that I think I posted it. When did they give the Narcan? Did they give it to him when they got in the car at Marengo? Did they drive around with him going through his medical emergency and then get to the sheriff's office and decide, Oh, he needs medical help. Oh, guys, let's call EMS. You had him in the car and you didn't know that he had a medical emergency. Something's off. Something's off. Something's off. Something doesn't smell. This doesn't pass the smell test to me. Something's off. On drugs or not, he didn't deserve to be drugged the way they drug. Absolutely. Thank you. Ella Johnson, according to a source, a toxicology report and official cause of death have not been released for Ammarin Tunstall. That is correct. Now, why did she get he died from opioid? Please stop spreading misinformation. Exactly. Where did she get that from? Monroeville Police Department. That's why they gave him Narcan, right? Do your research. Just because you get Narcan does not mean you're on drugs.
You know what?
But it doesn't mean you're on it.
Let me look at the. I'm gonna look at that.
She said they misspelled Monroeville. Man dies after getting dragged by cops. Did they misspell it? Oh my goodness, that's one clue that it's not a good source. Yeah, this is somebody that's working against this, guys. That's trying to make this go away and to make it look bad. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm not going to call no names, but listen, this kind of stuff happens when they really want to hide something and really don't want it out there in the media. They have their way. Look at this. SBI didn't tell Monroe Journal. Monroe Journal wasn't aware that the SBI has turned this over to the DA. Well, are you asking? Because I did. And I found that out that yes, they have given it to him. So now that I've given it to him, I gave them the same letter that you guys saw tonight. Let's see what they do with it. Let's see if he does his own research and find it.
Okay, so I actually just noticed a conflict of information. Okay. In the Aaliyah report, it says that he was emergency personnel administered a dose of Narcan, and it looks like it was in a spray form, according to Aaliyah's report. According to Mandy's report, she says that the officers, she says that upon arrival, Mr. Tunstall became unresponsive. Officers immediately began giving Mr. Tunstall medical aid and called for EMS. So that means the actual officers, according to Mandy, administered the Narcan. But according to Aaliyah, it was the emergency personnel that administered Narcan. So right there, we already have a conflict in statement.
And why would Mandy want to make it look like her guys gave the Narcan?
I mean, in her, she would definitely want to say that, oh, well,
we tried to save his life.
And now, like, oh, we're trying to save his life because we're just not noticing that he's unresponsive. Because she also says upon arrival, they realized that he was unresponsive.
Oh, Mandy, I wish you would.
Going back to what we discussed earlier, her statement puts them so much into, like I said, in that between a rock and a hard place, because she gave so much information in that press release. And I'm going to just kind of guess here that she did not have any city attorneys or what have you review this press release prior to releasing it.
She probably didn't, especially someone that knows about what happened. I know what she was trying to do. They don't want to get sued. So they know that they have a duty to care. So that's why they're making it seem like they were the saviors here. We did this, we did that. That's one thing. Number two, they realize that we got to have some life-saving measures presented to people. So it looks like we did all we could do for this boy. But guess what? He was on drugs and that's what killed it. No, Mandy, what we're thinking now, what I am looking at based on all this conflicting evidence is that your officers did whatever they were going to do, that he was dragged to that vehicle, died in that vehicle, went to the sheriff's office, and then he was already passed. And all this Narcan and all of that was done to try to save face. Calling EMS. This is just me. This is not something that's proven. I don't have any evidence that what I'm saying is true. What I'm saying, this is what I believe that may have happened. I think it was a cover up on what they did after he died. They had to do something to make it look like they provided what they were supposed to a man that was in need. They were just late doing it. Like, you can't do it after he's dead. Doesn't work like that. So Reese says, why has Ben Crump not been contacted? Ben Crump was contacted. Let me just put this out here, guys, so that we can kind of move past the Ben Crump situation. He was the initial lawyer who was contacted on this case. They were not quick in getting a response, so there were several attorneys that were looking at this story that wanted to take this story, and so the ones that Sharon did finally go with, they have a lot of experience. You guys, I want you to hear from them when they're ready to let you hear from them. So I don't want to give their names. I don't want to do any of that. So I just want you to know that Ben Crump was part of the picture at first. He was, but by the time he called, they already had her attorneys. Okay. They were already hired and all of that. And that's why, it went to that point. That's it. I just wanted to explain that. Okay. I understand. All right. Thank you, dear, on that. Okay. What did you want to ask, Stephanie, before we get out of here? Guys, our time is up, but it was such a good conversation. We didn't even pay attention to the clock.
Yeah. I don't think we got to all the questions tonight, but
no, we definitely didn't get
so many things, that still came to light. And again, I just hope and pray that, Aaliyah has done such in-depth research and investigation, as well as Attorney Watson, in regards to this case. And because oh my God, I'm still shocked on how far this goes up.
I'm just shocked about the footage that you sent, the article, stuff like this.
This is
careless reporting right here. This is careless.
Very much so.
Yeah, this is careless.
Very much so.
Because she told you that. You didn't see that. You didn't see that these officers were talking to him and he was alert. You didn't. There's no way you saw that anywhere. There's no way you guys saw that he died from opioids. Where did you get that from? Did you see the toxicology report to know that he had drugs? Did you see the cause of death to see, did he die from? It's really crazy. And this is why you guys can't pay attention to everything. Some of this stuff just requires you to think, right? Just think about it, So we're going to leave our final comments and we're going to get out of here tonight, guys. It's been a great conversation. These conversations, we're coming back, so you don't have to worry about it. We're not going anywhere. We're going to keep talking about it. Maybe this week, maybe Mike Quells will find something, but we're going to find out what is the price. What is the price that you want us to pay Mike Quells and the Monroe Journal to put news out there? You are a news outlet. That's what you do, is present news. You have to seek it. Well, if you have a man that died in police custody and he went back to work, people kind of want to know the updates on that. No one should have to tell you to follow up on the story. I'm just saying. But since someone did, now you are aware where it is. Now what are you going to do? So I'm going to ask him the question. What is it going to cost me, bro? What is it going to cost me to get this story out there about T. Tunstall, so all the citizens of Monroeville can feel safe, even though you all get paid to do it, but I'll pay for it if that's what it takes. Okay. So we're going to keep you informed on that, as far as what's going on, because we need to get it out there. Did that article come from Trump's Truth Social? Great job, my friend. Thank you, Jasper. How you doing, buddy? Reese says, thank you, Ella, for all you do for our community. No problem, dear. Love you guys so much.
Let me second that. Thank you, Ella.
Girl, listen.
Thank you.
This is something that it was a no-brainer.
You've been doing it for a long, long time. Like when this happened, and I know we was talking via Facebook Messenger, and like I said, I know that on our thread, I had a message to you back in 2016 about wanting to do something in Monroeville, a protest in Monroeville at that time. And so
what was going on then that
you know what? And I was just thinking that I had to really kind of go back and see exactly what was going on then. Yeah, because I do remember that my vision at the time was to have enough protesters to actually line the entire square of Monroeville and hold hands. Like enough protesters to do that. And I have to go back to see what was that root issue. But going back to the main point of me bringing that up is that I contacted you to help for this cause. And so I know that you have been doing this and me seeking things well over, from my personal knowledge, a decade. And so I thank you. I thank you
No
for
problem, dear.
being there
Listen, you know what? When we grew up, I'm a native. For those of you that wonder why am I so vested in this, I grew up in Monroe. And everything that I am and what I believed about life, it started there. We want to always believe the good in people. You know, we grew up in church, learning to love and forgive and all of this kind of stuff. But somewhere along the line, it changed. It changed in Monroeville. And I don't want to pinpoint the fingers at any one person, because it seems like this has been a group effort to bring Monroeville to this place. It is not just the Monroeville Police Department. It is not. I know that's what you guys want to hear, but it is not just the Monroeville Police Department. Your agencies, your government agencies, your elected officials have failed you. And it's time to get back to that. But we got to let them know what we need. And that's what this show is all about. So, Stephanie, you can say your last words, and then we're going to get out of here, girl.
Oh, my last words is thank you first. Thank you for, again, Ella, for hosting the show. Thank you, Miss Sharon, for having the spirit to continue to fight. I know that this is not easy. I think about putting myself in your shoes every day, and I don't know if I would have that same consonants to stay calm in this. To be honest with you, I don't know, because especially seeing that video, you are a very strong woman. Let me just say that, and my heart goes out to you, and I thank God for you, and I think that you being strong is going to prevent other things down the road.
I do too.
And I will say that T has been a strong martyr for what has happened, and we want to show that even in small towns with the population of Monroeville, like I said, I researched that we was on the phone for Monroeville. There are approximately 6,000 people in Monroeville, according to the census. Monroe County has almost like 19,000 people in it.
Yeah.
So even of a community in a county of this small, and who thinks that they can get away with something like this, it shows that no, you can't. And just like you said, Ella, I'm no longer in Monroeville, but I have family members that are there that live in that same community.
Yeah.
The same street in Clausell. And so that is why we're so diligent in this.
That's right.
We have to be an example to show that even these things won't go unnoticed.
That's right. Absolutely. Everything we can.
And we're going to hold everybody accountable in this process, whether you are the police officer that noticed it, all the way up to the councilman, to the mayor, to the commissioners, to the state representatives, to the state of Alabama Attorney General. We are going to hold you responsible, and we're going to seek that accountability and transparency from your office.
Yeah. All right, dear. Well, thank you all. I see you, Jeter. Thank you so much, dear. You're so sweet. Ella knows her stuff. She's gonna get to the Bible. Listen, with God, this is God, baby. This is all God. We can't do it without Him. God is the one that gives us the heart and the passion to do stuff like this. And I just want to say a special I love you to Sharon. I talk to you all the time. I know your spirit. I know your faith. This is a woman of faith. She is constantly encouraging me to continue to trust God in this. She says, everything's going to be all right, baby. Watch and see what I tell you. Watch and see, don't God do it. Right? So she tells me that every single time we talk. And I just want to give you a big hug you. I want to give you a big hug from everybody here on the broadcast, Sharon. We are with you. And to show that you guys are with her, share the broadcast. Go to my post and share that today so the whole world can see that video again. I don't care if you got to share it every day. Just keep sharing.
Exactly. And I think the next time I am on with you, like we'll have a plan for a coordinated effort.
Okay.
For this to be shared. And I hope everyone who's watching tonight will join in that coordinated effort for this to be shared. If we have to share it every day at 12 p.m. noon.
There you go.
If we have to share it every day at 2:30 p.m., in which he was supposedly first seen by the officers. It's going to take consistency, and determination.
And for those of you that are not afraid to post a video of you saying what you feel, please do that too, and tag me and Stephanie in it. Like, whatever y'all got to do after this show right now, just say, look, I'm with it. I think we need to get some help down here in Monroeville. I mean, put it out there. Because I'm telling you, once the Attorney General gets too much of this, he's going to make that phone call to Monroeville.
That's what it's going to take. It's going to take that outside pressure.
He's going to call. He's not going to want to look bad.
Monroeville is just not enough in today's society. It's going to take that outside pressure. That's
right. All right, guys. Love you too, Teresa. Aw, I love each and every one of you. We love you too, baby girl. Love you too. Sharon, it's going to come to pass, but not the way they think. That's right. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here. Thank you all so much for tuning into the Ella Johnson Show. This has been another conversation about T10 Tunstall, because it will continue, America. It will continue. We need every single person to post this and share this story. But we'll be back Thursday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Central, right here on the Ella Johnson Show. You guys have a great evening, and we'll see you next time.
Amen.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show. We'll see you next time.
We are supporters of the Ella Johnson Show. We live in South Korea. We have been watching Ella Johnson Show for like a year now. And we love her show. Her show is very inspirational, motivational, and educational.
If you would like to be a guest on the Ella Johnson Show, send an email to theellajohnsonshow@gmail.com or send a text message to 407-334-6997.
We love Ella Johnson Show.